What's going on, my good people from the north, south, east, and west, and wherever you're watching the NFC Beast Show from? But just so everyone's aware, it's another episode, Best Division in Football, even though there's a couple of teams that are trying to make us wrong. It's all good. It is all good. I am joined by my man Sam on the side. Sam, what up?
Another great evening to talk some NFC East football. As always, glad to be back. Excited to talk with you fellas tonight.
And our new guy who actually does show up, Scrub Zero. What's up, Scrub?
What up, though? I'm feeling good. Watching these football games, Giants win somehow, so I'll take it. Only 3 wins.
Hey, every win's a beautiful thing. Every win's a beautiful thing. So as you may notice, we are not joined by a fan of the Dallas Cowboys this week or the Washington Commanders, but that's okay because you have 2 people for your Eagles here, and then we have our Giants representative. But because it is our division, our squads, the teams that we know best besides our own teams, I think we're gonna be fine. So we'll start off by doing our review of the games from last week. Some interesting matchups, some interesting outcomes. One I think everybody knows I'm very happy about, but we'll get into that when the time comes. So we'll start off, excuse me, y'all, with our review of the Cowboys versus Panthers game. I can keep my review very short and very sweet. The Dallas Cowboys went out and spanked an inferior team, probably the worst team in the NFL. And that's what they should do. So kudos to them for doing what they should do. Sam, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, basically exactly what you said and exactly what we've seen all season long. The Cowboys have once again beat a team they were supposed to beat, and they once again beat them by a large margin. It was once again a situation where we saw backups come in and play because there was such a large margin of victory towards the end there. And it's just going to be a situation where I think we see this repeatedly throughout the season. The Cowboys seem to do this well. So I'm kind of curious of your thoughts, Scrub.
Cowboys, yeah, I'm with you all. Cowboys did what they're supposed to do, but they've been beating up on under 500 teams all year. Outside the Cardinals game, this is what they've been doing, but they've had issues with the teams that actually have a good squad. So I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say what I've been saying. Talk to me in January when we get to them damn playoffs. When we get to the divisional round, if they even survive to that point, then we can talk about where the Cowboys really at, or if they play another above 500 team and they could actually pull that out.
We've got an interesting slate of games that'll be coming up for them in a week or two. So we'll definitely be able to get a good idea of where the Cowboys are at, I think, once they get through that stretch. And, speaking of teams with a tough stretch, we'll talk about the Commanders versus the Giants. So, Scrub, we're going to let you have the last word on this one so that we can kind of finish it up knowing that you are our Giants person here. So, Sam, let's start with you, man. What is your impression of this Commanders-Giants debacle that we saw last week?
Wow. Did not see this coming at all. I fully anticipated a Washington win. Good for the Giants defense. They stepped up in a big way, sacked Howell 4 times, intercepted him 3 times, had a big game ultimately. But at the end of the day, I did not expect to see Tommy DeVito come out and play as well as he did. I know they kept it fairly conservative, but he was still able to push the ball down the field a little bit here and there. So, good for the Giants. Good moral victory. We'll see if it pans out into anything else, leading into the rest of the season. But ultimately, you have to ask them to what does this accomplish? You know what I mean? Like if you're if you're winning now, what does it accomplish? Are you pushing for the playoffs at this point, or are you looking to 2025 already, or 2024, excuse me, already? And if that's the case, then maybe this win wasn't necessarily a good thing for the Giants. So just kind of an interesting perspective there, because to be quite honest, I thought they were at the point where we were going to see them kind of pack it in for the season.
Yeah, I did think about that, but I also thought about the Giants, thinking about, you know what, we got a chance to sweep the Commanders in the division, give us a little trash to talk, send these dudes to 0-5 in the division. So even if we don't win any more games this year, let's win this game. So I felt like it was a perfect storm, right? Like I expected the Commanders to win just because I expected them to be angry about what happened to them against the Seahawks. Well, doesn't feel like they're that angry about it. And while we're talking about the Commanders, there were a couple of people on that team that I feel like were unceremoniously released. There's a DC that's no longer there, and there's a defensive back coach that's no longer there. My question on both of those would be, what took so long? Right? If you were going to do it mid-season, you should have done this earlier. Right? You could have did this weeks ago and actually maybe gave yourself a chance to be better the remainder of the season. But in discussing that, the Commanders they didn't come out to play. They haven't came out to play in weeks, right? I think the last game that I really saw them come out and play their hardest to win was against us the second time. And I think losing us broke their heart, and maybe they don't have it anymore to get up again. But it's sad to see them be as bad as they have been, divisional wise. I never expected them to compete for the NFC East title this year, but I did expect them to be a borderline playoff team. And boy, was I wrong about the Commanders. Eric Bieniemy can't do enough by itself. The defense, it wasn't good with Sweat. It wasn't good before the trades, right? Either trade. It's still not good. So nothing's really changed there. Everybody wants to say, oh, they were better when they had Sweat. They were better, before they made both of those trades. If you get rid of guys like that and you don't get anybody back, that's why you're not good. Go look at the stats. That's all I'm going to tell you. Just go look at the stats. Young and Sweat are good players, but Young's always hurt. And then with Sweat, they weren't going to pay him, so you might as well get some value for him. So, Scrub, I will let you have the floor, sir. It is all you. I'm going to mute myself to ensure that you get a chance to say everything you want to say.
All right, I got you. Now about the edge rushers. The thing is, yeah, we know they were a bad defense, but they got no one to rush the edge now. They also had I think they had one other guy from the edge who got hurt early in the game, so they had no edge pressure. Another thing, there was no holding calls. There's no holding calls in the game, so, and both teams started noticing that kind of made it easy for DeVito to start getting some time. Really, the thing is, the Washington didn't really stop blitzing for whatever reason. Because when they were blitzing him, they was getting him. They stopped blitzing. He had a field. DeVito had a field day, which don't make no sense. I'm glad he played well, which is good for him. But you got a rookie quarterback with an offensive line that's been struggling. You sent the blitz, you was getting home, then you stop sending the blitz, and he tears you apart. So to the point of the DB coach and the defensive coordinator getting unceremoniously released, the decision making there is very dubious, and that brings questions to the head coach Ron Rivera, because you supposed to be defensive guy. You should have said something like, "Yo," you should have taken those like, "Yo, call a blitz every time." So what is you doing, Doug? But the Giants have, in the past 5-6 years, they've had Washington's number. The games we have lost against them within that time, it really wasn't because of what Washington did, it's what we didn't do. So I can't. I'm back on the game. I'm not surprised. The Giants needed a win because, quite honestly, it was bad all around. You lose games the way they've been losing games, getting blown out. not being competitive, it will it might not have been there's certain guys that might not have been back for next year. They still may not be back, but with how they was losing it, like you can afford another loss. So the win does help. Obviously not the draft position, but you at least have something to go into next week. You can maybe feel good about yourself going out of the season. But so it is what it is in that regard. I am glad that they finally played a complete game, which also brings the question, where was this all year? But 6 turnovers, excellent by the pick 6 by Isaiah Simmons. And now they got to play New England, and we'll get to that when we do the previews picks, but it at least looks a lot better this week than it did last week.
I just want to say this has got to be the first time in NFL history that a defensive coordinator has gotten fired after his unit put up 9 sacks in a game. But at the same time, to be fair, that was the worst coverage outing they've had all season long, and they've invested a lot of money and depth and draft picks there. So, I mean, maybe he deserves to go. Although I do agree with your point, Ron Rivera's defensive mind. I mean, what's going on there? Why is he not stepping in and helping?
Don't make a lick of sense to me. But even with the 9 sacks, like if you watch those 9 sacks, some of those was just DeVito not getting the ball out. So it was even all the offensive line. And like I said, they when they should have been blitzing, they stopped blitzing. So 100%. You got it. And with the young quarterback, I'd rather him take the sacks and not turn the ball over than trying to forcing double coverage. Because even for all those sacks, he didn't fumble one time. So I'll take it. Because it hasn't been much to go off of. This is the best quarterback performance we got this year from the Giants. And it's not saying much considering how bad it's been for Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor. So, yeah.
I dig it. I definitely dig it. I mean, for me, man, it's real simple. When you look at the Commanders, the writing's on the wall. Ron, if you don't turn this team around and get to 500, there's no way you're going to keep this job next year. There's no possible way. If you can't finish this season at 9-7, which you probably can't, right? Because you have to go on a heck of a run to do so. You're not going to have this job next year. I know you're getting rid of other people trying to make the defensive coordinator and the defensive back coach the scapegoats. But at the end of the day, you're the head coach. I talk about this all the time. I talk about this with the Eagles a lot with Nick Sirianni. All this crap I'm seeing, especially on the offensive side of the ball, bro, you're an offensive head coach. Why is this happening? So when you look at it, the defense is the weakest unit for the Commanders. You're a defensive head coach. What are you bringing to the table?
One more thing I'll bring up, and I've said this other places too. Ron Rivera has a losing record as a head coach. He was like, I know we respect him. He's a good guy, but he was not good in Carolina. He's not been good in Washington. It's time to face the music. He ain't head coach material.
I would agree at this point.
He said the man ain't head coach material. I like it. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. Yeah. That's
great coordinator.
Pretty much what we get from the maybe not even that anymore. Who knows? I mean, yeah, there's not a lot more that we can say about the Commanders-Giants game. They did get rid of some guys that they wanted gone. Not the guy they wanted gone, but some of them. So we'll move on, and we'll talk about my highlight game of the last week for Week 11. And that would be the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football at the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. Sam, we're gonna go last. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna let you go last, so you can wrap everything up. Scrub, we'll start with you.
Man, Patrick Mahomes still ain't looking good, dog. That boy's like he looked better, but I saw a lot of the same issues I've seen of him all year. His pocket passing hasn't been good. He's jittery. He threw. You saw the red zone offense. The second half, I don't understand how they didn't score a point in the second half, but this kind of been their MO all year. They get away from the like we talked about it on with the Eagles League podcast. Like Andy Reid, you can count on him to get away from the big run, and sure enough, he did. And I'm amazed y'all. I'm genuinely amazed y'all won that game because I didn't think Jalen Hurts really played that well either. I thought it was just a bad football game from both sides. But Eagles started using the screen, started using Swift, and I thought that was really the big difference. So Eagles now 9-1. Got a chance to be 10-1. And the Kansas City Chiefs need to figure out. They'll be all right, but they got to figure out their second half offense because with how it's going, they ain't going to win no dang Super Bowl. They playing like this. I think they're going to get bounced out like in the division round, actually. They don't get this fixed.
Well, I'll say this. The play calling in this game was cheeks. On the offensive side, the entirety of the game was cheeks. There were 3 really strong plays. The audible into the pass for Devontae Smith and the 2 runs by Swift. We don't have those plays. We're not even sitting here. We're definitely not sitting here talking about a win. I'm not going to act like the defense did not play a part. I'm not going to act like the defense didn't help us win the game because I don't do that. The defense definitely helped. But what I will say is I'm very disappointed in the offense. I'm like, with this offense, I'm at a point where I'm just like, man, you don't put people in situations to be successful. You don't scheme for people to be open. You just expect guys to somehow make great plays out of nothing, right? You expect guys to somehow jump up and make a great catch. You expect guys to catch the ball going out of bounds. You expect guys to be able to break tackles on the run game. We're not giving guys great opportunities like we were last year. You've got a guy that's a different coordinator, but he was on the staff last year. So you saw what was being successful. You got the same head coach that you had last year. So what is the problem? The offense is really holding the team back. And you got an offensive head coach. And you got an offensive coordinator that was the QB coach for the same team last year. So I don't understand why they can't get things together on that side of the ball. Defensively, we always come out and lay down in the first half, and then we decide we want to play defense in the second half. That donut in the middles looked a little bit better as Byers getting more acclimated. Blankenship's baited a couple people in the interceptions, so we've had some decent play there. But, man, this offense has got to be a lot better. The defense has to be better in the first half, and they have to not have to come up with a turnover or a drop to win games. I'm not going to complain about a win, but this is probably the most disappointing win I've seen from the Philadelphia Eagles this season. And I'm not going to sit here and say just because we win the game, we don't talk about any of the things that went on that were poor as part of this game. So I expect us moving forward to come out and try to run the ball more than 12 to 15 times a game. Let's really run the ball. And I'm not talking about Jalen Hurts. I'm talking about the running back room running the ball. Rashard Penny needs to be playing. I don't know what's going on in Philadelphia in their offensive side of the ball, but everybody need to be punched in the back of the head, and they need to reset. Sam, what do you got, sir?
So I think my biggest disappointment coming out of this week was the amount of missed tackles we saw on not only defense but special teams as well. I mean, it's bizarre. That's not something you normally get from the Eagles. Normally we're a pretty disciplined team. We're playing good situational football, and that's a good reason why we continue to find wins in tight games. But In this game, it was the exact opposite. It was like we did everything in our possible power to shoot ourselves in the foot and give KC this game, which, as Scrub said, was not their best. It was like we played down to the competition worse than I've ever really seen before, which is funny to say against the Chiefs, who we played in the Super Bowl last year. So just a bizarre game from start to finish. I mean, anytime you come out of a game and Jalen Hurts had 150 yards passing, didn't throw a touchdown pass, just amazing to me. Like, amazing that everything went as wrong as it possibly could in this game, and we still found a win. I don't know if that's a testament to our ability to find wins in tight games, or if we just a testament to our luck in this game, because quite honestly, I think this one really could have gone in either way, and it wouldn't have shocked me by the way the game flow went. But really just to me, an outlier in an otherwise a really good season, but definitely a concerning game, to say the least, moving into next week and, eventual matchup against San Francisco.
I just want to say Sam is a lot more of a positive Eagles fan than I am. That's clear. But hey, man, it's cool because we can't all be the same. Everybody can't be out here talking about how every game is terrible, right? Nobody wants to hear that. I hope that we clear things up. I mean, like I said, we're winning, but this is not good wins, right? These are like we're stumbling into wins. We're finding ways to win. We're making enough plays at the end of the game. And I don't like the spin of like, yeah, we're finding ways to win the game. A lot of this is other teams finding ways to give us the game. And we can't depend on that consistently. We can't depend on other teams to say, we suck and we're just going to do stupid stuff to give you the game. We can't depend on that. That can't be how we expect to win games, as we get deeper into the season. That's a big concern for me. Also, just overall in the division, man, we have to have a better brand of football outside of the division, right? I get it. We play each other in knockdown, drag out games where, they're tight, they're close, because it doesn't matter the record. And the Giants and the Eagles have been really good against the Giants the last couple of years. But every game against the Commanders is difficult for us. Every game against the Cowboys has been difficult for us, right? The Giants, they do really well against the Commanders, who we have so much trouble with. Not so much this year with the Cowboys, but they did good with the Cowboys in the past. So I feel like I get in the division, but when we get outside of it, it just has to be a step up. Everybody's got to show like, hey, yeah, we beat each other in the division. Commanders are 0-5. The Giants and Eagles haven't played yet. The Eagles are 3-0 so far. The Cowboys have lost at least one game for sure in the division because we beat them. But, outside, right, this is where I kind of look at it and say, this is where we all need to be better. Games outside the division. That's where we got to rack up the wins and show people that, hey, we're not playing. The Giants, I'm not talking about y'all because I understand y'all trying to get a good draft pick. And that's the situation, I get it. But the Commanders are supposed to be at least a solid team. And we're not seeing solid right now. So, guys, and I'll let you go whatever order you like for this. And we can just go through each team, or if we'll go through each team. So we'll start with, we'll go from bottom to top of the division. So we'll start with the Giants. What is one thing the Giants should be thankful for this year? I mean, it's Thanksgiving week. Let's talk about what the team should be thankful for. We'll start with the Giants. So, Scrub, you're a Giants guy. We'll start with you, then Sam. What should we be thankful for? What should the Giants be thankful for?
Dexter Lawrence. Easy. Because without that guy, this team don't even have one win.
Sam, what do you got?
I was actually going to say Saquon Barkley, but, Dexter Lawrence was a great answer. Honestly, had I thought about that first, that probably would have been my answer. But both of those guys have contributed to every one of their wins. So definitely either one of them deserves some credit for sure.
Well, I'm going to go with Brian Daboll because I think that the Giants should be happy that they have him as the head coach. I know this year you can argue, he hasn't been this, that. But he hasn't had the players or the talent. Let's be real. But I think long term, he's definitely the guy, and the Giants should definitely be thankful that he is their head coach. All right, and
Come
then
back to
we'll
me
move
on him
on to
this time next year.
that's fair. But even next year, you're probably gonna have a new quarterback. So you gotta have somebody else that has to learn his system. That's the other problem. When you have a team that you have to constantly have different guys on the center, then it's hard for them to grasp the system completely. But trust me when I tell you, look at Josh Allen with Brian Daboll and without him. Trust me when I tell you, this guy is not the problem.
No,
You
he's
know,
not the
the
problem.
front office, the front office is the problem.
There's a lot I could definitely say about that, but we'd spend two.
And I've been there.
It'd be like a whole. That'd be a whole therapy session. That's another time.
Yeah, me and Sam have been there. Trust me, we've been there. All right, so we'll move on to the Commanders. Whoever wants to go first, and then the other guy. What should the Commanders be thankful for?
Eric Bieniemy.
Sam Howell. I think Sam Howell has shown that he has been, well worth that investment that they got him for. What that was a 5th round pick?
I know it was a mid-round pick. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's a 5th round pick.
It was a 5th. Okay. I'm gonna say that they should be thankful that they fired Jack Del Rio. That's what I'm gonna go with. Hey, that defense was bad. It's been bad. I go to a game every year, and I've never seen fans turn on a defensive coordinator so quickly. Like the game will start, it'll be like 3 plays in the game. They won't even have the ball on. They'll still have the ball on offense, and they'll be cursing at Jack Del Rio. F you, Jack Del Rio, you effing suck, you piece of S. Like I'm like, dude, he ain't even called a play yet. They just could not stand him being there.
They wanted him off for a minute now.
Yeah. So they should be thankful that Thanksgiving has brought them their desire of their heart, and that is to be done with Jack Del Rio. All right, and then
we'll
go ahead, Sam.
Sorry to backtrack a little bit. I was kind of curious, so I looked up the numbers on Daniel Jones' contract, and I was actually surprised they might actually be able to get out of his contract in the next 2 seasons. So maybe they will have a new quarterback. I was I didn't think that would happen because of his contract, but it's possible.
Yeah, at the end of next year, they can get out of it.
If you're willing to eat the money for 1 year, like the Eagles did with Carson Wentz, if you're willing to just say, "Hey, we want you gone bad enough, we'll eat the money for 1 year and get rid of you," do it. You know what I'm saying? You go. You're gonna go with another guy. Maybe you go with DeVito for a year. Maybe you draft the guy. You're not gonna pay them a lot of money, so it'll even out.
According to Sport Track, if they trade him, they'll actually have a $36 million cap savings. Now, obviously, it's unlikely anybody's going to trade for that contract. But if they cut him as a post-June 1st cut next season, after next season, like Scrub said, they gain nothing, but they have a $47 million cap hit. But the following season, they would get $30 million back. So, man, just a shocker and a terrible contract once again.
I'll tell you right now, they ain't letting him. He's going to be on the roster for 2024. They have no designs of not having him there because the owner loves him for whatever reason, which don't make no sense to me. But that's right, he's boys with the Mannings, but we get too deep into stuff now.
He doesn't play like the Mannings.
Neither one of them.
All right, and then so we'll move on to the Dallas Cowboys. So guys, what should the Dallas Cowboys, and it's hard for me to say their full name. I know what I normally call them, but I'm calling them the Dallas Cowboys. What should they be thankful for?
I think they should be thankful for Dak. That for as much hell as they give him as the fans, you can't do this, you can't do that. Listen, you really want to go to Cooper Rush? You really think that's going to fix your problems? It's not. Because yes, Dak has his faults. There's certain things he can't. He has struggles with as a QB, but a lot of their issues really isn't him. it's been coaching and that guy upstairs who 82 years old, Jerry Jones. And I think as long as Jerry Jones continues to do what he's been doing, they ain't winning no dang on Super Bowl. Now, in fairness, they are going to because they announced it Sunday. It's for what, December 30th, they're going to induct Jimmy Johnson into the Ring of Honor, which is about time. It's well too long overdue, but that's going to be their big moment of the year. And then they'll find a way to choke the season away because this is what they do. But I'll tell you this, you could do a lot worse than Dak Prescott. And I wish I had Dak Prescott on my team right now because he's well better than any of the quarterbacks we've had.
100% fair. I've actually got like one of three names that I want to throw out here, and I know that's kind of cheating, but my first name, and it's a pretty obvious one given his performance as of late, but Deron Bland. I mean, that guy is killing it right now. I think he's got 5 interceptions for a touchdown as of right now. And he was a late round pick, and which brings me to my next point. Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn is just an amazing coordinator. I almost don't want to see him be a head coach again because I'm not sure he'll cut it. But, he's a great coordinator. Right where he's at, he is so good at developing late round picks. And then obviously I wanted to shout out the Cowboys front office because they've been able to pick up some very unheralded players and turn them into key contributors, whether it was, their kicker that they found in the USFL, Cavante Turpin, same thing, USFL, that's been very valuable on the kick return team, or guys like Deron Bland on defense. I mean, I think they've done a really good job of unearthing guys, and really there's a lot to like about Dallas. They just really got to figure out those coaching issues, to be quite honest.
Well, they should be thankful for one Micah Parsons because Micah Parsons is the reason why a lot of these other defensive players and Dan Quinn look really good. When you got a guy like Micah Parsons on your team and all the things that he does and what he can bring, that definitely makes your team a lot better. So they definitely should be thankful to Micah Parsons. Well, for Micah Parsons. All right, and then we'll slide into the number one team in the division so far and the top team in the NFC, period, Philadelphia Eagles. Scrub, what should the Eagles be thankful for?
That's a good question. I've been racking my brain. I'm like, there's so many different answers.
You can cheat like Sam and give a couple, right? He cheats.
I'm gonna say Devontae Smith. I know he's the number 2 guy because you got AJ Brown, but to have Devontae Smith as your number 2 guy, he just goes about his business. When the ball, he runs his routes on point. When the ball comes his way, he catches it. And you saw what happened with Monday night. If it was just AJ Brown, I don't think y'all pull it out. But having him as another guy you could count on, wish we could have got him, but we didn't fall that way for us.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer for sure. But I'm going to go with Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman is always one step ahead of the game. It seems like every time we have a player that's on an expiring contract, he's out there drafting a player a year early. So just kudos to Howie Roseman and the team he's assembled once again this season.
And I'm going to go with the double obvious answer and 2 players, AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts. The trade to bring AJ Brown to town to unlock Jalen Hurts definitely was wonderful for the Philadelphia Eagles, but also having Jalen Hurts, a guy that wants to work that much at being better, a guy that wants to improve, that even though we see when we're looking at regression, If you really go back and not look as a fan, but look as somebody analyzing the game, once he's made a decision, he's getting rid of that ball quickly, and it's accurate most of the time. There was the interception this week, but I think the big thing with that was it was on Hurts, but it wasn't like I don't know why Hurts did that. I don't like the placement because my thing is you threw the ball at his calf, AJ Brown calf. If you throw the ball over his head and let him run to the ball, which is something that he would do in that situation with all that green in front of him, that's a touchdown instead of an interception. But, you're going to have those miscommunications between any quarterback wide receiver duo. That happens. And I know people want to argue, the play should have been like an in route. I'm like, yeah, but even on the in route, you don't throw the ball at a guy's calf muscle for him to make the catch. That's not how you get the ball in the in route, because you're supposed to get the ball here in the chest area so he can catch it and run, or over his head, not at his calf muscle. Just saying. But yeah, those are two guys that I think we should be appreciative for. There are a lot of guys I could have named, a lot of guys on defense. I mean, we could take 15 minutes and go through everybody that we should be thankful for. But those are two guys that we don't win games without.
Real quick on that pick.
All right, guys.
That sure. On the pick, you Jalen Hurts, you see him throw when he was throwing, he was off his back foot. He didn't actually get to drive on that throw. That's why it ended up where it ended up, and you saw what happened with that.
Do better, Jalen. I don't give him that no more. Do better.
No,
you get paid like a top 5 quarterback. Do better.
No, I agree. He got to do better. I thought he had enough time to actually set and throw. It's just he was how it came to that point. He was literally off his back foot when he needed to just stand in there, make the throw. Wouldn't have been a pick, but it is what it is.
I feel it. All right, guys. So we'll go to the Week 12 games. It's normally all previews, but we did have this Thanksgiving Thursday game to recap between the Washington Commanders and the Dallas Cowboys. Game that got the DC and the DB coach fired, man. So my thoughts on this, I'll go ahead and give you guys mine first. My thoughts on this is simply Washington has showed us time and time again they don't step up in the moments. They make some plays, their stats look good, but when you look at the game, when you watch the game, they're stat whores. They're not actually making plays when you need to make plays. When you're down, when you're in a situation where you need to play, throw it out. If it's wide open, if you're down by 2 touchdowns, you're up by 2 touchdowns, or they'll air it out. And Howell makes some good passes. Some of them are missed opportunities. Maybe he's not thinking the wide receiver is going the way that they're going, so the ball's a little out of their reach, or they have to stop to catch it, different things like that. Also, he doesn't target Terry McLaurin enough. He just doesn't target McLaurin enough. Scary Terry was called Scary Terry for a reason. But it doesn't matter how good you are if your quarterback's not targeting you. Dotson's taking away too many passes from him. Samuel's taking away too many passes from him. McLaurin's your number one for a reason. You've got to feed him more. Number one receivers need the ball to get going to make plays. So I think that's a big reason why the Commanders continually are losing games that they should at least be in. Dallas should not have blown out the Commanders. Even if Dallas won, that should have been a closer game, but the Commanders had too many mistakes on defense. I mean, I've seen guys running wide open, catching touchdown passes for Dak Prescott that he could have thrown to me. If you're wide open, all you got to do is turn around and locate the ball. Like, nobody's close to him. So Commanders have to be better defensively, and that's why both of those coaches were relieved of their duties. I'm not even saying their names anymore. We're just going to call them the DC and the DB coach. That's why I'm purposely not saying their names. They're out of here, so we're just going to acknowledge the position. We're not even going to acknowledge the people that had those jobs anymore because they didn't want to keep them. But that's the biggest thing for me. And then from the Cowboy side, the Cowboys, they do beat up on bad teams, but in a way, isn't that what you're supposed to do? Right? Everybody talks about the Cowboys, they only beat teams that they're supposed to beat. They don't beat the teams they're not supposed to beat. I'm not saying that you're lying. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm not saying that you're giving out misinformation. I'm just saying, isn't that what they should do, though? They shouldn't go out and lose to Washington, right? They shouldn't go out and lose to the Giants. They shouldn't go out and lose to Arizona. But once we start talking about who shouldn't lose to what, I'm not going to stop until I say the Eagles shouldn't have lost to the Jets either. So these are things like you lose at least one game you shouldn't lose, but for the most part, when you're the better team, you want to go out there and win the game. And Dallas is doing that piece. Now, if they can add that piece of beating some teams that are above 500, some of the better teams, then I think people may look at them in a different light. But I still respect what they're doing. So that's my thoughts on the game.
No, I completely agree with your thoughts on Dallas. I think what they're doing is impressive because of how they're doing it. Like you said, I mean, you look at the game last night last night. Sorry, Thursday. We're filming on Thursday for anybody watching this, or Friday. I'm sorry. But basically, you look at the game the other night, and he was able to spread the ball around really well. He got to what 1, 2, 3, 4, like 12 different receivers on the day. You had multiple receivers who had multiple catches, and he had 4 different receivers score a touchdown. And it's been a theme all season long. They've got, I believe, 5 or 6 different receivers that have over 25 catches this season. And they've also got 5 or 6 different receivers that have multiple touchdowns this season. And it's not the same 5 or 6 that in those two groups. So, I mean, Prescott's done a great job of spreading the ball around, using all the different weapons he's got in that offense. But definitely still, it seems to be that they just can't live up against tough opponents. And hopefully they can kind of get over that hump the rest of the way this season. But ultimately, in this game, they did what they've been doing best all season long, kind of beat up on an inferior opponent. And, ultimately we saw it cost a couple of people their jobs, like Cool said. So no surprise here. Totally expected Dallas to win this game. But we go ahead and move on, and we'll see how they hold up the rest of the year.
Yeah. That they finally found a way to utilize Dak Prescott. They're not having him pass too much. Wish they would utilize the run game a little more, but they're not having it's not pass happy. The passes they're having him make are passes he can make. Everything's rolling efficiently, and defense, man. See, this is the thing. When Dallas is right, when they're actually get that lead, they start rolling, and it's like one good play turns to 2-2, 204, and we saw what happened with Washington. And man, it's bad out there in Washington. And one thing that I noticed with all the teams that lost on Thanksgiving, like the gotta have a situation, 3rd and 4th down, it was not good. It was not good. They turned the ball over at bad times, and Washington. But this kind of been what Washington has struggled with. They have struggled with the good teams. They have struggled at times protecting the ball, and we know defensively their pass coverage is awful, and they can be had in the run game too, especially and we talk about them losing Sweat and Young as edge rushers, but it's not just edge. Like you also talk about them in the run game, and that's hurt them as well. I get you ain't gonna pay them, move them, get something for them. That's fine, but you're talking about a team that has a lot of guys that they don't do well. They're not coming back next season. We know this, so it's dubious to say the least. Some of those decisions they made it, and this is the result to this point. I don't think Washington wins, and they might win one more game. I don't see it unless maybe they win the next game because coaches get fired, the guys have a heightened sense of attention. But I don't think they're turning the season around. And the Cowboys, well, like I said, I agree with Cool. I agree with you, Sam. They'll be all right. They're doing what they're supposed to with the bad teams. We're just gonna see. Just gotta really wait for January. when all the money's on the table.
That's fair enough. All right, so now we'll go to our two previews that we have left. All right, so we have the New York Football Giants Scrub Squad versus the New England Patriots. So, Scrub, we'll start with you on this one. What do you got for this preview?
Well, my chair continues sinking, and I'm trying to fix this, but for this game, I think the DeVito's probably going to have some struggles because Belichick does have a history of beating up on rookie quarterbacks. Giants still have a few issues along the offensive line. Like, yes, they've been able to have a unit together for consecutive weeks finally, so I think that'll help a bit. But DeVito's still a rookie. The Patriots, for all their faults, their defense still is pretty decent. So I think there's going to be some struggles there. It's going to have to be give the ball to Saquon like 25 times. My biggest issue with that is I don't think they're going to utilize the other backs. I know Saquon is a difference maker, but they got to use the other backs. That's the one thing I've been complaining about all year. They haven't utilized Breida. They haven't utilized anyone else, and I think that's one of the reasons they're at the record they're at, amongst other things, of course. But I think utilizing some of these other backs would be helpful. Keep the ball out of DeVito's hands. Keep the downs manageable, so Belichick doesn't just blitz him from every which way and disguise coverages and all that. Defensively, well, I don't know which quarterback start for New England, but Dexter Lawrence is doubtful. If he don't play, I'm definitely concerned about it. But this is the chance the Giants have, at least in my opinion, for me to say they are not the worst team in the NFL, because them beating Washington twice has told me nothing. I'm like, okay, but they've had Washington's number all this time. They escaped Arizona with a win. They hadn't looked good any other time though. So this is their chance for me to say they're not the worst team, and I'll take them to win. Probably something like 17-13. I think maybe you get a defensive score or a short field to get yourself an easy TD. But I'd like my chances better if it's Mac Jones starting than if it's Bailey Zappi. That's me personally.
Sam, what you got?
No, I like a lot of what you said. I think with the receiver group that the Giants have, using multiple backs makes a lot of sense, especially if you can use two back sets in passing situations. Barkley's a pretty solid receiver, so is Breida. Why they're not really utilizing that more doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But Dable's a much better offensive mind than I am, so I guess I'll trust in the process as far as that's concerned. I do expect the Giants to find a win in this game. I think the Patriots have too many holes on that roster this season, and I think ultimately they've kind of packed it in for the season. They realize what they are. They realize there's no playoffs in their future this season, and they're ultimately, for lack of a better terms, they are probably leaning towards tanking and trying to get the best pick possible. It'll be the first time in a long while that Belichick's had his hands on a very high first-round pick, so it'll be interesting to see what he does with it. Maybe we see him ultimately draft another quarterback, but it's going to be an interesting situation to follow if he's even the coach going forward. But ultimately, I think this is going to be one of the big defining games in if he stays or if he goes. If he finds a victory here, maybe he has a case for staying. If he loses, I think this is going to be a game that a lot of people are going to point back to and be like, look, you lost to the Giants, who realistically were on their, backup quarterback or third string quarterback were, had all these other issues with their injuries. So, maybe it's time for you to look into retirement or, perhaps go coach somewhere else. But definitely going to be interesting to follow on both teams going forward. But Giants, I expect to get a win in this one.
New England sucks. Okay? New England is garbage. New England is dumpster fire trash juice. And Scrub Zero, I just want to remind you, you may have forgot because they're so bad you forget they're in the NFL, but the Carolina Panthers are the worst team in the NFL. Yeah, there's no taking that title away from them. They are the worst team in the NFL. If you want to say that you're the second worst team, that's fine. You got a couple of people that will argue with you on that, but you're not the worst team in the NFL as long as the Carolina Panthers are here. The Carolina Panthers, again, don't forget, ole, 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 ole. That's their offensive line play. They play Matador offensive line, right? It's ugly there, but in this game, man, you've got a Giants team that can come together and win, right? Whether it's Bailey Zappi, whether it's Whack and Cheese, it doesn't really matter. They're bereft of talent at the wide receiver position. Their defense isn't what it's been in the past. They do have some injuries, so I'll give them that. But, they're just not a good team. And when I say they're not a good team, they're not even an okay team. Like the Giants, you show what you could do against the Commanders if everything is clicking. When have the Patriots even shown that this year? You know why they haven't shown it? Because they can't cheat. And when your team is predicated on cheating and you can't cheat, this is what you look like. You know what? The Patriots might be worse than y'all after this game. We're going to see. But I definitely had the Giants beating the Patriots because I think the Patriots are dumpster fire trash juice. It's just a little bit above that embarrassment of a football team in Charlotte, where I live at, by the way. So, that's who I have winning that game and why. I would be surprised if the Panthers win another game this season. I would be surprised if the Patriots win another game this season. The Giants may slide into or fall into another couple of wins because there's some teams that suck worse than you that you probably play. So you always got to think about that too.
From what I see from this team, I personally think like I know the record. I know some of these other teams have been bad, but I'm like, bro, why I say they're worse is because they shot themselves in the foot. They've literally found ways to shoot themselves in the foot. It's not even like, no, you're not good enough. It's you're doing this to yourself. A lot of these games,
right? The Panthers are just know you're not good enough,
right?
They can play a perfect game and still get blown out. That's what I'm saying. That's why they're worse than you.
I understand that.
And I hate to say that about the quote unquote hometown team, but they are that bad.
I understand that.
And we will roll into our final game of the week. It's going to be 4:25 Eastern Standard Time. Your reigning and defending NFC East and NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles against the Buffalo Bills. So I'll go back to back on this, and then we'll go to you, Scrub, and then we'll let Sam have the last say on this one. Concerned about Buffalo, but I'm concerned about every game because we only play for half a quarter. The first 3.5 quarters, we may score some points, but it's garbage. It's because the other team just doesn't realize the garbage that we're doing. And I hate to say this, but I have to be honest. When I look at this team, I see a team that doesn't even care about trying to put a game together and are delusional enough to believe that they're playing well. That's scary. But if they ever wake up from that false sense of success and realize that we got some problems that need to be fixed and work on fixing those issues, like number one, running the ball 20 plus times a game. I don't care who you're playing. You can't play the number one run defense because you have it. So whoever you're playing, whatever their number is on the run defense, run the ball 20 plus times. Throw the ball to whoever's open. Julio Jones is on the team. Let's not forget. Let's throw him some passes. Olamide Zaccheaus is on the team. Let's throw him a couple of balls. Let's spread the ball around. It doesn't always have to go to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. I understand Goddard's not there, so you may feel more comfortable with giving it to those guys. There's other guys on the team. Let them get a little love too. Defensively, we cannot be a donut hole. We've been better in the last couple of weeks. We haven't been great in the middle, but at least it's been acceptable. But again, with the defense, we decided we only want to play in the second half. The defense, we don't care about the first half. First half, whatever. Once the second half comes, that's when we say, yeah, okay, it's time to ramp it up the defense. We're not allowing guys to score a lot of points in the second half. We're allowed to do what they want in the first half. So that's a concern as well. But overall, I think the Eagles will do the same thing they've been doing to us this season. Start the game off with a good drive. They'll do nothing after that. And once they get through with that, they will play enough in the fourth quarter for us to win the game, and every Eagles fan will be stressed out, high blood pressure, all the stress. That's what they do to us. So that's all I got to say. Scrub, what about you?
I agree with a lot of those points. Listen, what I said a few weeks back, what I was like, why y'all signed Julio Jones? Because I thought y'all had other issues. The biggest one being y'all need a fullback. All these teams need a fullback. It ain't just your team. Because it don't make no sense. These teams are weak in the middle. They play it. The linebackers are like 5-6 yards off the line. Get a fullback. Run the dang on ball. Y'all. Because the Eagles had a fullback, man. Y'all couldn't be stopped. Even without the fullback, though.
Scrub, that would be a waste because we don't run the ball enough to justify paying a fullback.
No, I understand that. That's what I'm saying. Like, y'all have the personnel. This is why y'all should have a fullback. But even with all that, y'all need to, like you said, run the ball. Y'all just need to start faster on both in all three phases. That's really it. I ain't no one worried about Buffalo. Josh Allen's gonna give you at least one because that's what he do. I don't want to hear nothing about all these other quarterbacks. Since he got in the league, he's had the most turnovers in the league by far. This dude got like 90 plus turnovers, dog. It's in year 6. That's not good. So I don't want to hear about no other quarterback. Like, hey, this guy turned the ball. Like, yeah, but they ain't turn it over at the rate he turned it over, right? So y'all need to chill. Like, and then the Bills defense, like, I ain't worried about them either because Sean McDermott been on some BS anyway. Like, they'll look good for a moment, and then they go back to the same old BS. They give up the run, give up the pass. Man, this team is, they pretenders. I would just say, they pretenders. The Bills are a bunch of pretenders. They going to end up getting bounced out in the first round. I don't care if they win the division. Like, no, they ain't even in the division. They going to be the wild card. Man. Sam, you can go. I'm done talking about this game. I got the Eagles, dog.
That was hilarious. I actually do have some slight concerns about the Bills. I mentioned it last week, I believe. This is one of the games on our schedule that I look at and could see a potential loss for the Eagles. I'm not saying we're going to lose. Let's get that straight. I'm not saying we're going to lose. I'm saying this is a team that we could lose to, and there's a reason why. Like Cool said, we really need to focus on the run game, and this will probably be a game that, for some odd reason, Brian Johnson decides to come out and throw it 50 times because naturally, the Bills have a great secondary. Even though they lost 2 first-round picks to injured reserve, they're still one of the best secondaries in the league. Those safeties are great. They go 3 deep at corner still to this day, and they're taller guys that can match up well with A.J. Brown, which is another concern of mine. But at the same time, if we play this game correctly, this should still be an Eagles win. Ultimately, if we lean heavy on Swift, I think he's going to have a huge game. I think there's a lot of holes in this defense, as long as you attack them correctly. If you're trying to throw the ball 50 times a game and tipping them off and being one-dimensional, you might lose to the Bills. Let's hope we don't do that, at the end of the day, because that's really my only concern. Other than that, there isn't much with Buffalo. Yes, their offense can score some points, but I'm not concerned about them with our defense. I think we got more than enough firepower on this defense to slow down Josh Allen, get to him pressure-wise, cause some errant passes. We will get at least 1 interception just, based off default. So I think this is definitely an Eagles victory, and it wouldn't shock me to see it be a close game, but I expect it to be probably a 10-point victory at the minimum.
So, guys, any last words, any last thoughts? Want to tell people where to find you before we head out of here for the evening?
Y'all can find me at Scrub Zero on my YouTube page. Twitch Scrub01. And, I always appreciate being here. Glad Cool invited me up here. I'm having a great time with y'all. and since we play the Patriots, it's always been F Boston. It'll always be F Boston. And this week it's definitely F Boston. We're gonna get this win. Oh, and F Josh Allen too, because he turned the ball over too much.
Something tells me that Wise El Jefe somewhere is laughing and agreeing with you. Just based off some promos from Snowman in the morning. But you can catch me every week on Shady Sports Network. We always got something going on. In fact, we got some pretty big AFL interviews coming out Sunday. I keep thinking today's Saturday for some reason. But it's been a pleasure having you on, Scrub. You're very knowledgeable. You definitely know your stuff. I'm glad to have you on. It's been exciting to have another, more regular co-host here. Hopefully we can get a couple more people to round out the lineup a bit. But been a lot of fun talking to you guys. Excited about this show every week. Looking forward to it every week. So can't wait till next week.
Yeah, absolutely, man. For me, catch me Sunday morning on WDRBmedia.com or your tuning app, WDRB Media, at 12 p.m. noon Eastern Time for the Cool in the Game show, leading you in to your 1 o'clock games. I mean, you listen to the same people tell you the same stuff all week, or come listen to somebody tell you some off-the-wall stuff, possibly. Some stuff that makes sense. Hey, I got to be honest, don't come there if you feel like you want to get a deep delve into every team. You want to really hear some picks and some points why you should maybe look at this team or expect this team to win. Come holler at me. You want to hear a little bit about some college football, college basketball, a little NBA? Come chat it up with me. We might throw some pro wrestling, different things in there. It just depends on what the mood is that week. Several other places you can find me. Of course, Eagles Elite. That is also on Shady Sports Network, as well as youtube.com/at Eagles Elite Podcast. Several different shows. playcallersportstalk.com/live, as well as Shady Net Sports Network. A lot of places you can find a lot of different stuff I'm doing, and be checking out Sports Wave Network coming. The courtside view will be there, and we'll be making some things happen as well. So, hey, I'm everywhere, man. And that's not even everything. But we are going to be ending things for the week. We appreciate you listening. FYI, I know this is a very interactive show in the past, but we are recording, so your comments are appreciated. Maybe Sam, maybe Scrub, maybe one of our other guys may be able to hop in the chat and kind of respond to some things, but it is recorded. So that's why we're not responding to what you're putting in the chat. But it's still all love in the NFC East. As we refer to it, the NFC Beast, we still that division. Just having a little bit of hiccups. It happens. Nobody's perfect. We out, and we will see you next week.